traveling, as you traveled to so many different countries and spoke on so many stages with people like Deepak Chopra, Dr. Dean Ornish. What else would you like to add to your... Thank you all for listening to the replay and all our audience who join us live. Let's dive in. We are going to talk about the self-sabotage, how to break the cycle of self-sacrifice with Anaiis Salles. As you are guys slowly settling in the space, I would love to introduce you to Anaiis. She is an ordained minister, holistic energy healing life coach, certified IMT, and an author. Anaiis works with individuals stuck in toxic relationships, helping them to transition their lives through her powerful healing methods. Anaiis, you are also international bestseller author and so accomplished in so many areas of your life, including family and even traveling, as you traveled to so many different countries and spoke on so many stages with people like Deepak Chopra, Dr. Dean Ornish. What else would you like to add to your introduction? You are muted, Anaiis. You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'd like to add, thank you for that introduction. I'd like to hi to everybody who's sharing their time with us today. And the one thing that I would add is really learning to listen to your body and discovering the best way for you to do that is one of the most powerful things that you can learn, if you don't already know, to do today. It is literally one of the most powerful things you could do, and it can be life-saving, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. So I would just add that.
Tuning into the superpower of listening, that's what I am truly learning from you. Would you like to share with our audience what being fireproof woman means?
Well, I'd like to open it up to the audience. I'm going to...
Oh yes, please, and also we can add people to bring them to the stage if you want that. Sure. That's opportunity.
Yeah.
You can...
I'll let you do that. But for me, what I really am aware of right now is that the time that we're living in, while it has been so difficult for the feminine energy, for the divine feminine, for any empowered woman, we're breaking generations of damage. We're healing generations of damage on both our mother's side and our father's side. And those are energetic patterns and dynamics. It's not just emotional. We have a lot of people today who talk about mindset shifts, and they talk about healing your emotional body. And there's some people who practice Reiki, and there are other people who have a pretty good handle on their seven chakra embodied chakra system if they do yoga. Pretty much anybody who's in with a good yoga instructor, part of yoga will be learning about why you do yoga and the impact that it has on your seven embodied chakras. So what I really love to do is bring the hub of all of that, as everything is energy first, last, and always. And if you imagine the hub of a wheel, and then you put spokes on that wheel, then we're looking at mindset, emotional body healing, energy healing, other techniques like tapping, I know, which Anastazja is very familiar with. We can put a spoke on that wheel of neurology and neuroscience, brain science. We can put a spoke on that wheel of trauma bonding. And so we begin to see a really clearly fleshed out picture. And most people are now starting to see most of the picture, and they're understanding that they're all related and they all connect in that central hub of your own core identity. And for me, when we're having difficulty traveling around that wheel in any direction and stopping at one of those spokes to go into the center of the hub, that's an indication of what I call spiritual Alzheimer's. You can't remember who you are because you're not aware of your other 15 chakras. You're not aware of your multidimensional nature, and so you're in spiritual Alzheimer's. So what I love to do is just lay it out like that, very simply, and then bring it home to what does that have to do with being unstoppable. For me, you become unstoppable when you no longer self-sacrifice, when you no longer self-sabotage. And it takes traveling around the circle and going through the spokes and into your full multidimensional self to get to that core. So you actually feel energetically, I've lived through this, I survived it, I have a deep, deep sense of my own core because it was my core that helped me survive it. And I talk sometimes about in my life, I've been left for roadkill. How many of you can identify with that experience of being left for roadkill? More than once. Most of us, it's been more than once. And it's that part of you that no matter what your experience is and how much you feel emotionally, the pain of the emotions from trauma bonding or whatever, or how much pain you feel physically because of the setbacks that you've had, could be an illness, could be any number of things, when you can fully feel that there is still this spark inside of you that says rest, take care of yourself, ask for help, ask for a hug, make a phone call a therapist, connect with a deep dive energy healer and visionary consultant like me, go back to your core and you will rise again. It will take time, but this is when you're unstoppable woman in training. I hope that makes sense to some of you. And we can talk about the specifics when you've been in an abusive partnership, which is so common for women in our culture. They're either being controlled by their partners and they do everything that the male partner wants them to do and they don't ask questions and they go along with the program. Or, as it turned out for me, I was not willing to give myself up to being controlled by anybody, including my male partners, including my mother and father, because the deepest part of me knows that who I am and being able to give what I came here to share in this world, I need to be free. I need to be in control of my own choices, and I need to learn how to do this. And I have to stand up for myself, fight for myself, advocate for myself. These are all ways in which I recognize that I am becoming an unstoppable woman.
Thank you, Anaiis, for sharing that. I would love to welcome our audience. Paulette from UK, thank you so much, Paulette, for joining. May, Clint, thank you for joining again to our podcast episode. Richard, Dabi, Anthony, thank you all. We are also recording this for others to have access to the replay. Just want to let you all know. Anaiis, could you share a little more how does this form of being unstoppable serve our interest and best interest of the world around us and children and the future generations to come?
I would first like to acknowledge the men who are here. And I also want to say it's absolutely possible to be a fireproof man. These things are not about gender, but they are about coming into a balance with your divine feminine essence and masculine essence, just to be a balanced person. And so, taking care of yourself and understanding who you are and what you need, and feeling those places where, and I'm going to ask you to really participate and feel free to speak up, where you've had a moment or other moments in your life where you felt like something in a communication or in an action or an interchange with someone just kind of took you off guard, and you had a little moment where you kind of, it probably whizzed through your mind before you could even form the thought. It was like, what was that about? And because of the way our culture works, especially in the United States and in any country where there's been some form of monarchy, that is when we shut down our feelings, we don't acknowledge the moment, and we don't ask the question. What was that? I'm sorry, what did you just say? I need some clarification on that. I have a question. That didn't feel good. Just that moment. I would love it if you would share, just by show of hands, if you can do that when you react, how many of you have had that moment where you felt some form of energy coming at you that wasn't kind, that wasn't respectful, that wasn't considerate, that was going to overrun you or override you in some way, and you felt that? But because of the way we have been trained in our culture, especially women, to self-sacrifice in the interests of, quote, someone else, and we'll get into that in a minute, then you don't speak up. You don't feel your own core. For whatever reason, it could be that you're afraid, it could be that you're worried about being rejected, it could be that so much of this is about the fear of generating conflict. And when you're afraid to generate conflict, that's when you become absolutely vulnerable to being controlled. And not in a way that benefits you. So when we're looking at, if I were to function in a world with the developed, because it takes time, this training takes time, because it absolutely runs almost in the opposite direction of what we learn in our families and what we learn in school. So it takes time to unlearn many, many things. And when you begin to do the unlearning in a way that's organized and respects you and cares for you, which is what I think is the work of any good coach or healer, the unlearning is emotional, it's mental, it's physical, and then it's energetic. But until you get to the energetic and literally the atomic level, you still may not be confident or sure what is in your best interests. So raise your hand if that resonates. You have doubts, you're not even sure what that is. And if you're in very sort of go with the flow, normalized traditional family dynamics, or even if you are today, because we have so much more gender fluidity, if you're in those circumstances, that's a journey of discovery, which is what about my expressing myself this way of being authentic is in my best interests. Okay? So that's a question I would love you to take away today. To really, when you have those moments, when you get that funny little feeling like, and you take that breath and you don't speak, at least allow yourself to have the thought. And I see that we have Paulette here, and Paulette is asking to speak.
But first there was a page. She was If that's okay, I'm the one who controls everything here.
I'm producing what I see on my side.
Page, in order to speak, you need to unmute yourself. There's this icon of a mic. Click on it. As I see that you are maybe figuring it out, I will let Paulette to talk meanwhile. Paulette, what would you like to share?
Hi, yeah, I think part of the practice that I try to teach children in my therapy is to listen to their inner voice.
Mm-hmm.
We call it the conscious voice as opposed to the subconscious voice. The subconscious voice is the one that's full of all the, everything that the oppressor, controller, the humiliator has told you that you believe to be true. And then in your conscious voice, you have everything that you know to be true, but is fighting so hard to be heard. And I think that we, as people that have been victims, but also people who have been or are trying to help others who have been victims, really have to understand that when fear, and I can only speak from experience as a child, when fear is paralyzing you,
Mm-hmm.
you have a very, very hard job of listening to that conscious mind. All you can hear is, they're right, I am everything they say. And then as you start to have the control, you start to take back some of that control, and it's a millimeter at a time. But as you do start to take that control back, and you start to feel the energy transfer, and you start to feel like I am growing wings here, I am becoming, the avatar of myself I always wanted to be. And that's when the enough's enough moment happens. And when the enough's enough moment happens, it's when everything you're saying and everything you're talking about absolutely falls into place. But getting
there is a journey, and it requires some help.
But you don't know you need the help because you're paralyzed in fear, and also you're scared of who you tell. You're scared of what. I remember being terrified of the repercussion of the police getting involved, of my mum getting into trouble, of the, even social services, the school, everything that went on with my abuse, every single thought that took me down a road of who would help me was, what if they don't help me enough? And I come back here, right? Come back here in a situation where I have caused tumultuous trouble and issue for myself that's going to make my life even harder.
Okay, I'd like to pause there, Paulette, because I want to assure everyone who's listening that the deepest place that you can listen to is within your own body. And there is a voice that your body consciousness carries. And when it has to retreat deep into your core, it will. But we can learn. As a young child, I will share with you, this is one of my stories. I have many, many stories. What made me unstoppable. I had a mother who was very charismatic, very beautiful. She came herself from a very difficult childhood. And she was doing the best she could at becoming a good, normalized, middle-class mom who kept the house clean, who kept the kids fed, and she had a job, and, those were her goals. When I arrived in her life, I was already far beyond that. Far, far beyond that. And we would have these power struggles. And I was 5 and she was, 26, 27. And so then she would when I would not obey her, when I would not allow her to control me, this one day she said to me, okay, go upstairs, you're gonna get a beating. And she used a number of things. There was a cat of nine tails, belt, hairbrush. And so I'm 5 and I'm like, okay, this is the routine. I stood up for myself. I spoke from my core, and this is the routine. So I'm walking up the steps, and I didn't look back at her, but I simply said, could we use the hairbrush today? I'm tired of the belt. That was me being very aware in my body of who is at my core, and not being afraid to face my mother and call her out. By the time we got to the top of the stairs, I had taken all that wind out of her sails. She never again gave me any kind of a beating. The one last thing she did was slap me in my face because she thought I had lost something, which wasn't true. But that was the last time she ever physically abused me. So one of the things that I want to be careful about is we have to claim that is within us. We can give it a different name than our name if we need to, but we need to claim that that is absolutely part of our birthright bliss. It absolutely is what regenerates our brilliant resilience, and these are all things that I include in my work, and it doesn't matter what age you are. The younger, the better. And we're changing these dynamics. Paulette, look who you've become, because you had to work your way through from your core to be able to recognize it, so you can support other people who are in that struggle and on that journey. So it's so important. I don't like to use the word victim. I prefer to use recovering from spiritual Alzheimer's and a lifelong learner. I don't identify myself as a victim. I don't. And I have been, by most people's standards, absolutely been victimized. But that's not my core identity. I won't allow it to be my core identity. So I hope that makes sense, Paulette, and I want to share radical gratitude with you for carrying that kind of really trauma-informed, heart-centered energy into the work that you do. That is super powerful. Super powerful. You know this. I'm just validating you because I think it's really wonderful that you're here.
And I appreciate it as well, absolutely. The only thing, if I could ask you to perhaps consider, I didn't just have my mother as part of the war zone. I had two mothers. Mm-hmm. And so if she refused to look at my face because I looked like my dad and therefore I was evil, the boys, my two brothers, would find it really amusing to take the two seats that would be opposite her and beside her, which meant the only seat at the table was the last seat, which was the one where she would be able to look at me. And so I used to have to eat my dinner on the floor with the dog, so she didn't have to look at me.
Okay, let me stop you there. Let me stop you there, please. We've all been through that in one version or another, and it's incredibly disruptive to your energy field. And it is designed by a system of energy to disempower you, to hurt you, to discourage you, to take in these negative attributes of what I call the no field of energy, which is the root of trauma. And while the specifics may vary, the pattern of what I call the system of separation is the same. So when you tell me you're that, I have my version of that. We all have our version of that. whether it's one parent, both parents, the whole family, your brothers, your sisters, because the system of separation is designed to do just one thing, and that is to shut any part of your humanity down that might survive the shift that we're going through right now. So it's so important. We have to really find that part of us. I kept that part of me sacred. And one of the best ways to do that is through some form of creativity. Whether it's song or dance or drawing or whatever, even if it's just building mud pies in the backyard, creativity is key to keeping your energy system from crashing and burning when you have been literally implanted genetically into a family that cannot and will not love you. And that's the work that I do with people, is let's just be really clear about what happened to you. You were implanted genetically into a family dynamic by the system of separation, which sees everything about you while you have spiritual Alzheimer's. There was no way to defend yourself from the system of separation unless you're just a cranky old soul like me, which is like, kiss my ass, you know? I mean, come on, I'm not doing that again. I've been here thousands of times. This is the journey that we're on. So it's so important for you to go deep into your core and feel everything, everything, everything. And take all of your specifics, journal your specifics, and then next to your specifics, write your name, and then draw another little circle that says universal system of separation. And just put lots of other little circles in there for all the people who are living some version of exactly what you've been through somewhere else in the world. All day, all night, Marianne, 24/7 on this planet. And what we're about, the work that I'm here to do, is to put a stop to that. And it's an energy pattern. If we keep going back and going over the trauma again and again, after we've written those specifics down and gone from the I dance to the we dance, which is everybody on this planet is going through this, unless you are part of the genetic lineage that has designed the system of separation, then you have a different experience. And we see in the world a very clear distinction between the quote haves and the have-nots and the 1% and the 2% and another 98%. You're wondering, how did you end up on that end of the scale? I'm going to tell you how. This is the work that I do. This is my training. This is my 8-week program that I have coming up. Self-sabotage is when you don't take the time to write down your own specifics and then do the internal work and the energy work, however, whatever way you find it that resonates for you, so that you can shift your own body feeling and your own awareness into that circle that says universal, and you can feel the other dots in that circle. But you don't have to sacrifice yourself for those other dots to become whole. You don't have to sabotage yourself for those other dots to become whole. That is their work to do. The ordained minister in me has arrived. Paige, did you have something you wanted to share?
Just to finish off, Anaiis, just so you're aware, my winning, if you like, was I became a trader, became very successful, and I was determined never, ever to never have that pink towel, clean clothes, or a nice home, or all the things that I didn't have. So I guess after I had, as you say, done the work, I turned to myself and said, right, now it's my time to shine, my turn to win, my turn to go out there and make a name for myself. And then when I retired, I started the children's book and the non-profit. So you're absolutely right. You turn that pain to purpose, 100%.
Yeah, and you're unstoppable. And what you do and contribute, Paulette, just by walking around on this planet doing what you do every day and by breathing, you are exchanging the bigger part of you that you may not be able to see energetically, but that is there, ready to connect. Everyone on this planet who is ready to come out of the very toxic system of separation. You have pulled yourself out. Congratulations. Well done, you. And you're helping others. But I'm pretty sure you're not self-sacrificing or self-sabotaging to being that assistant. At least I hope that you're not.
Definitely not.
Thank you.
And, sometimes there are some layers or places where we still self-sacrifice, but definitely I will make sure to connect you, Paulette, with Anaiis. And thank you for your contribution to this room and being so vulnerable and open to share. If you want me to edit any of the parts you shared, let me know, because we are recording it. I will be happy to make your wish come true. But I see Paige, and I also wanted to just highlight Paulette's work in this world and what she's doing, and how she became the contrast of everything she was exposed as a child, and just more of it. And I feel
Those are the people.
yes, all right. And also I feel like what can make us closer is the compassion piece, which many times when we go through so much pain, we almost lose that human side of us. It will become this warrior, achiever, and it's on the other side of that female goddess, female energy. But we might drop into it with the next question. But I see there's a Paige who wants to share something. I would like to take some time and welcome Ollie. Thank you, Ollie, for joining. Ollie is in Belgium, I think. I got it right this time. May, thank you, May, for joining. Zarar, Shubanshi, thank you, Shubanshi. I hope I pronounced it properly. Chim, thank you so much for joining. And Chris, thank you, Chris. Thank you all for co-creating this energy so it can go from my heart to your heart and we can connect for this brief moment. Paige, can you unmute yourself? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I'm working on prioritizing my own way of being in wellness with the energy of facilitating other people in my life, naturally picking up on the other options that are available to them also.
Paige, you should say more. Paige has a very, very interesting story. And I am so privileged to be part of Paige's journey now and then, as she is taking one foot, putting it in front of the other, and becoming unstoppable in a way that is so beautiful. And it comes from her story, and it comes from her challenges, like it does for all of us. So, Paige, I don't know what you want to share, but I just want to make sure I validate that part of you because I know you.
Yeah, thank you, Anaiis. My story involves a lot of self-discovery and self-reflection, and doing my internal course corrections when I learned something new. For instance, after a while, I came to the realization that it was ultimately my nutrition that had, or not so great nutrition, that caused the anxiety. Also paired with long-term antibiotics use, and that was a theme of how standard medicine was not as beneficial as it could have been with my health and emotional well-being. And after 12 years of more pharmaceuticals for anxiety and also hormonal birth control, I survived blood clots in both lungs and oxygen deprivation brain injury. And from there, I got to experience doing the research and finding additional options after, I like to say, standard medicine saved my life, and additional holistic options created thriving in my life. So I've discovered all of those along the way in the last 8 years or so, and my business vision and mission now is to create a community for brain injury survivors and their caregivers that will also have access to a directory of functional and integrated medical professionals who can better share all the additional options available now, and hopefully those who have experienced brain injury will have more options sooner in their recovery.
Thank you, Paige. So this is the lotus that blooms from the mud of our terrible situations. I'm very, very deeply honored to know Paige and be aware of her story and her specifics. And this journey of becoming unstoppable is a life's work. But what I'm observing now, because I've been doing this for 3 decades, is that women like Paige are discovering their way through starting in their 30s and really coming into it in their 30s. That's at least 20 years ahead of the previous generation, for the most part. So we are going faster, although sometimes it seems glacially slow. Thank you, Paige, for sharing that.
Not to mention other energetic and social influences that I navigated through, and just happened to come across Anaiis, who shared the more aligned path.
Thank you, Paige. I'm honored to know your story, more of it, and I'm so glad you joined and shared your transformation and how you are thriving as a fireproof woman. Thank you. And I also saw Michael joining us. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Kenneth. I'm doing my best with my Polish accent, guys. Please forgive me. Cooper, we have so many male, beautiful energy, healthy energy to model. So glad we are changing it all together. And my next question is actually, we are almost 15 minutes to the end, and we are with the question number 2. We're doing good. But what more matters is your feedback and you all listening. If you want to add anything, you can raise your hands. There is an icon. Also feel welcome to click those 3 dots at the top and share the event so others can join us live. My next question to you, Anaiis, is why does it feel good to ignite and then achieve self-sacrifice, and what self-sacrifice means for you?
I think this is a very, very evocative question, and I put it out to all of you who are here. Because one of the first challenges to stop the process, the inherited pattern of self-sabotage, that you're trained to repeat and repeat and repeat, is that first you have to be aware of it. And to be aware of it, you have to feel it. And to feel it, you have to notice that moment when you're going to do that little dance called, I'm going to take the higher breath. I'm going to be Well, it's a very kind of a quasi-religious meaning to it, which is, as an ordained minister, I never understood why people focused on that as opposed to my Father requires mercy, not sacrifice. But through most organized religions, because they are part of the system of separation and they make their contribution, we are conditioned that love will heal all, that we can sacrifice the love that we may have within us while we're not receiving much from other people. And we can be good people. And the label, I'm a good person, because I'm willing to not act in my best interests, or I'm willing to sacrifice my best interests for another person. This is a trap, because in the glorious, beautiful, abundant universe that we live in, there is no this or that. There is no binary code. That is not a natural state. That is by design in the system of separation. So there is no up or down, like you get and I lose. There's no win-lose. The abundant, loving universe that we live in, that does not abuse us or control us, is a win-win. Give, share, receive energy field. So why does it feel good? Because you've been given praise for doing something that is not really good for you. But you have the label of being a good person. And you are capable.
The key is selectivity. Some people are worth serving to receive.
Oh, 1 second.
Serving yourself and others.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a matter of personal discernment, which will happen when you listen to your body. When in 1991, because I had a little thought that I wanted to work with burn patients to test out my healing skills, I took my own money, I got on a plane, I went to Moscow, Russia, hired a driver, hired a translator through networking, found my way into a critical burn care ward for men and another pediatric oncology ward for children, 2 different hospitals. That was my choice. There was no self-sacrifice involved in that. And everyone that I put my hands on was a blessing to me and a blessing to them and a blessing to their physicians. That is the give, share, receive, ask, listen, receive, yes, energy field. The difference is your discernment. That whole co-creation was amazing from start to finish. I literally, my whole ability to heal other people physically by putting my hands on them, to generate stem cells in a man who was burned to the bone from his knee to his ankle, and his doctor came to me, he was desperate. He says, we're going to have to cut this guy's leg off. And this was when the Soviet Union was in collapse. This guy was a drunk. He'd been in prison. He'd just been let out of prison. He fell into a fire, and this is how he got burned. When I put my hands on him, did I care about that? There was no self-sacrifice there for me to put my hands on him and generate the stem cells that he needed, so that a year later he could walk out of that hospital on his own life. The difference is discernment. And so what I advocate in the way that I work with people and what I teach is, how do you develop the discernment so that you are fully aware who, as you use the word deserve, our generosity. No question. That man, I didn't care. I got private information about him that blew his mind, and I told him that God, the source, had given me that information about him. And I bought him a tracksuit with my own money and tucked it under his pillow on his hospital bed. You will wear these pants when you leave this hospital on your own 2 feet. And what I call source made me stop on the way to the hospital and buy this for you. That's the world we're moving into. We all are able to do and be that in the way that feels so natural for us. Doesn't require self-sabotage. Doesn't require self-sabotage. So if you have a sense of that resonating in you right now, I would love to know. Because I am really, really quite certain this is the world that we're moving into. And we're all invited to go. Will you go? It's up to you. We all have choice.
Is there any...
It's a powerful, creative way of sharing belief and tuning into knowing.
I prefer knowing to believe. Belief is of the mind. Knowing is what the heart believes and what the mind cannot take away. So when I talk to people about discernment and when I'm teaching my course and we're going through all the information and the practices, and it's very multi-layered, we really look at everything with the sense of, can we develop the neutrality, the wisdom, commitment to really feeling the resonance of truth running through our whole body. You can feel when you hear the truth. Every one of us can. And compassion. Those, for me, are the 4 pillars of discernment. And when you have those 4 pillars steady and strong, and you listen to your body, you will know. Not with your mind, but with your heart and with your soul. And you will listen to your body. That's the path for me, Pitch. You know the work that I do. This is not an easy path. We are so conditioned, and we use language carelessly.
And the word discernment.
Discernment.
Yeah.
Discernment.
So I Google it in my native language. It means bystrość, wnikliwość. So I don't know if that tells you anything, but especially if your native language is different than English, I always recommend to study things in your native language. It almost hits a different spot, subconscious.
It's a synonym for judgment.
It's what?
Isn't it a synonym for judgment?
No, it is not. No, it is not. That's one of those ways in which we use language carelessly.
Because we are conditioned to survive. Mm-hmm. So there's a reason.
Judgment and discernment are not at all the same. Not at a feeling level. Not at a cellular level.
Hello everyone, can you hear me?
Yes.
Cool. So I was just looking about the word discernment, and it's from French discerner. And so in Latin, discernere, which is discernere, to asunder pieces apart into, plus cerno, to see, to discern. So it's like really to see something and to be able to separate things so that we can analyze it.
Thank you, because it's a really helpful feature of our experience, isn't it? To be able to see things and understand them and feel them and make choices based on information. Thank you.
I always knew there is some French dictionary man who's going to join the live and do all the work for me. Thank you, Oli.
Distinguish, separate, and discern. So
yeah. Judgment, the French didn't put the word judgment in there. I'm appreciative of that.
Joy.
So this brings up an opportunity for me because I'm about to put my training and my workshops into multiple languages that can be distributed around the world. This is my project for 2025. So I will be taking the 8-week program that I'm offering now, the material that I've developed, and a lot of it is video content. Some of it is about the words we use and how we use them, and especially how we can beat ourselves up with the thoughts that we have when we use words against our own wholeness. I think many of us have been through that. So this is a really wonderful time. I, doing the work that I love, am going to be able to offer what I offer to start out at least 10 languages.
Can't wait for that to be here. I would like to also welcome Shayna. Thank you, Shayna, for joining. Thank you, Ollie, for jumping in. I see you left. You made the impact, so it's all good. I see, Cooper, you unmuted yourself. Is there anything would you like to share?
I think my mistake was confusing stages.
Excellent. Thank you for that distinction. That's important in my work because it's a level of refinement that makes the fundamental nature of your choice in whether you're reacting or responding so much more embodied. Thank you for that. Yes, I appreciate that.
Do we still have time for the last question, Anaiis?
I don't know. My eyes are closed. I am just sitting here in energy.
So let me ask you this last question of why does it feel good to ignore your unique signs of self-sabotage so that you turn toward this energy with a sense of what's familiar?
This is an important question, and if we don't have time to really go into it today, if you're plugged into Anastazja's room, she just did an amazing presentation, and we had an extraordinary panel conversation around red flags. And I think that question really does tie into the issue of red flags. And what I do in my 8-week program that I'm offering, it's starting October 3rd, and I've got a special price just for Anastazja. So if you're interested in it, I'm going to put my information, or you can get it on her site or wherever. But the thing is why does it feel good to hurt yourself? That's the question. And is that really feeling good? What is that feeling? When hurting yourself feels good? I think that's part of the deep work that I do, so that you can distinguish what you are actually feeling in your body and then correlate it to what's going on in your full 15 chakra energy field when you're in that state. And the full bouquet of all the feelings and all the sensations that you are now having a conversation with your body. And this is how I healed myself of secondary infertility, which was inoperable, wasn't going to be surgically corrected. And listening to my body and receiving the information that my body pulled from the universe and showed me quite literally in visual PowerPoints and exercises for me to do. I was able to completely heal my body of all of that scar tissue, which was from an illness that had been undiagnosed. And I went back to my first gynecologist to deliver that second baby. They said it would be impossible for me to conceive and give birth to. This is the time that we are moving into. This is the time. So, when you can feel the feeling of, I'm not really feeling good. What is it that is going on in my body right now that is giving me some signal of satiation or pleasure? When I am talking to myself in an unkind way, when I've just made a really, really bad choice for myself, why does that register in my So I hope I will see some of you in my course. We can go into that question, but take it away for today and go and play with it. You'll learn a lot.
Thank you, Anaiis, for joining in our live audio room. We can leave those links in the comment section. And also, for those who are right now here, you can click the icon for Anaiis, those 3 dots, and message or connect. In this way, you will still stay in this room, but directly will be able to connect with Anaiis.
Do I have a comment section?
It will be in the event.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, I can take care of it. And thank you all for. Well, you can have another one. You can. Absolutely.
There were so many men here. That's thrilling. This is the balancing of the energy. This is the time we're moving into. Thank you for being here, everybody.
Thank you, Zara, Kenneth, Clint, Michael, Chris, Shubhanshi, Anthony, Paulette, Christy, Doe, Marisa, Shirley, and the beautiful Ollie who left. Thank you all. Copper, Paige, thank you. Also would love to invite you for the premiere, online free premiere happening on October 3rd at 1 p.m. Pacific, exactly the same time like this event took place, but October 3rd, which is the next Thursday, not this one, but the next. See you all. If you want to join that, message me. I will send you the Zoom link. You all have a great, go ahead and
do come. She has put together such a beautiful sharing, so I hope you're able to make it. I'll be there, and it is just wonderful work that Anastazja has given to us. So thank you for doing that, Anastazja.
Thank you for reminding me about the open panel. So it's not just the screening, it's also open panel. It will be on video, but you can join just audio, it's fine. And it's another way to have some deep conversations. And it's going to be streamed to YouTube, so you can also watch on my YouTube channel, which is Expose a Network. If you put on YouTube, it will show. All right.
If you get in touch with me and you want to hear my 20-minute talk, which I recently gave on a summit last week on being a fireproof woman, I would be happy to share that video link with you. You'll need to get in touch with me and let me know that you want it.
With that said, thank you, Anaiis. And
thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
all right. If there is anything else, there is the last 4 seconds to add it. Otherwise, you all have a great time. Sending a lot of love.